Greetings YouTube, August 24th, and I'm wearing a jumper. So I saw a poll yesterday on one of the message boards that I frequent, and it talked about ears. In particular, ears on elves. And what kind of elven ears do we prefer? Do we like to have elven ears that are just little pointy? Vulcans? Or do we like really tall elven ears? Now, when it comes to the Fae, pixies and sprites, I imagine extremely large ears, like ears that go above the tops of their heads. And I think of elves as being tangentially Fae on some level, just grounded in the terrestrial world. They're not outsiders, they're not from another realm, they're from the plane that they're on. But I still see them as having pointed ears, and I like relatively long elven ears, a little longer than the Vulcans. But it got me thinking about, do other members of the classic races have pointed ears? For example, in the shoot, now I can't think of the name of the setting. I'm going to completely blank that, aren't I? But regardless, they had a race of gnomes, and the gnomes were very elven, rather very Fae-like. In fact, you could take characteristics over time that made you more and more like the Fae, and they definitely had pointed ears. But I've seen other gnomes that are more of the Tinker-style gnomes, and they don't. They just have ears like you and I do, just, sometimes slightly larger, but they're not pointed. And then, of course, you have dwarves, and I've seen dwarves as slightly from another realm, from the Fae, so they actually had slightly pointed ears. Or I've seen the kind of classic dwarves that we're used to in D&D and Iron Kingdoms. Of course, they all seem to inexplicably have Scottish accents, but that's beside the point. But they had, again, relatively normal, human-style, rounded ears. But I definitely like my elves, and probably at least one other of the races, to have pointed ears. I've never been a big fan of the half races, so I don't tend to have those around. But I like to have something that's kind of related to the Fae. Now, interestingly, where do halflings fall on that scale? Now, are the halflings derivative from hobbits? They are. They just have common ears. Or do they not have common ears? Or are your halflings more from the OGL, the 3.5, where they're just very small humans? 3 feet tall, delicate build. Do they have pointed ears? And do you like to have ears that are pointed on other races? I've seen hobgoblins with pointed ears, because again, hobgoblins and goblins are often related to the Fae, the unseelie court more than the seelie court. And I find that to be an interesting line of reasoning. But then again, there's orcs. Now, if you're Tolkien orcs are despoiled elves. Do orcs have pointed ears? Or do they not have pointed ears? So it depends on how you divide these races up. And when you start to look at it, you can see that a whole lot of these races are very much related to the realm of the Fae to one degree or another. There's a pedigree in there, kind of a thread kind of weaving between them, connecting them all, which is kind of cool. And I think that how you do this, how you decide, whether they're, pointed or not pointed, can help you focus on how they're connected as far as to the realm of the Fae. And to me, that's important. The realm of the Fae should always play an element in a fantasy setting, even if it's more of an industrial Iron Kingdom style setting. That's a new word. Setting. I still think there should be a connection, because there's a certain element of whimsy and of mystery and chaos and the mercurial about the Fae that I love. And to me, one of the signs of that is in the ears. So tell me, how do you use ears in your campaign? Do you like to have elves that have ears like the Fae way up here, or do you like to have elves that have ears that are like Vulcans? Do you like to have your dwarves with little points at the top of their ears, or are they just rounded like us? Do you have different races of gnomes? Some tinker style that have ears like this, and some that are definitely have the blood of the unseelie or seelie court running through their veins. And of course then there's hobgoblins and goblins. How do you do this? Are your dwarves and your elves related? And if they are, how are they related? So, I'd like to know how you handled your ears. Yes, it's a slightly absurd topic, I apologize, but I still think it's interesting.